My name's Tony Foster. For over 40 years, I've been working as an artist in the world's great wildernesses, in rainforests and deserts, mountains and canyons, the oceans, rivers, the tropics, and the Arctic. I've spent a great deal of my life now working in places where very few people ever go. I've worked out that in the last 35 years, if you add it all together, I've probably lived in a little tadpole tent. Must be 8 or 9 years now, I think. We're lucky. Normally when I arrive, I'm greeted by a fusillade of little green cones. Now that bouncing on your head from 300 feet down by the squirrels, it really hurts. Well, it's pretty straightforward. I simply get myself into these wild places either by hiking and canoeing or kayaking or raft. There aren't any roads where I'm working. What I'm looking for is pure wilderness as one could expect to find. The medium I work in is always watercolour on paper. Watercolour because, of course, it's the most portable medium. Spending time in these places, long periods of time, is very important to me because when people see my exhibitions, I think they realise the amount of sheer concentrated study that I've done in the place where I'm working. And they also understand, I think, that they're done in the open air. It is about spending time and absorbing yourself in the place, not just in how it looks. It's not just a matter of, putting a kind of frame around a particularly choice landscape and copying it. It's about absorbing yourself in it so that you have a story to tell about it. And the more of it I do, the more I realise just how fragile these places are. The work is all about trying to bring to people's attention the extraordinary nature of the world we live in, its beauty and its complexity, and hoping to evoke a sense that we should protect everything we've got. The Exploring Time exhibition is the 19th journey. I call them journeys because each one philosophically is a journey. Everyone's life is a journey with all sorts of incidents dotted along it. My exhibitions are a journey with all sorts of incidents dotted along them. The 4 sections for the exhibition are geological time, biological time, human time, and fleeting moments. When I was working in painting the north face of Everest, I was above Rongbuk Monastery at about 15,000 feet, and the monks in the monastery could see that I was spending day after day stuck in one place doing something, but they didn't know what it was. So they sent a young monk up to invite me into the monastery for tea. The second time I went for tea, this young monk came up towards me and in his saffron robe, and he opened his hand, and inside was a tiny ammonite fossil. He pointed to Everest and he said, "That came from high up on the mountain." And the idea that this fossil, which had come from the ocean floor, had somehow ended up at 26,000 feet was a revelation to me. How on earth long did it take to get there? Well, apparently there is a fossil layer at 26,000 feet, and it's taken 50 million years to go from the ocean floor to the roof of the world. So I made a small painting which incorporated the fossil and the view of the north face. And that was the first painting in this series. So that was an example of how you can demonstrate sort of geological time in a painting. So I think of Exploring Time as being a more philosophical exhibition about me looking back on 40 years of working in the backcountry and what I've learned from that, and how I can express the importance of the time we all have in this world and how we should spend it. It's about my experiences and my practice and using my talents to try and explain my response to the world I've been in. Looking back on all the adventures I've had, I've been an extraordinarily fortunate person. My life has been made up by wonderful encounters in extraordinary places. I look back and think, well, was this a life worth living? It's hard to tell. I mean, have I done more damage by traveling around the world than if I'd stayed at home? Or have I actually contributed something to the discussion about how we should treat the world? I don't know the answer. Wilderness has a way of making you realize your inadequacy in some of these places. One thing I'm hoping people will learn from the Exploring Time exhibition is our insignificance. And I hope people will emerge from the exhibition feeling, first of all, the glories of the places I've found. And as with all my exhibitions, the idea that these places are worth taking care of. But also, I think humility might help to save the earth, because it seems like we think we're all conquering, we're bombastic, we're competitive, always out to achieve more than anybody else. We're always trying to increase our position. And humility might help if we realize that it makes much more sense to collaborate rather than compete all the time. What I'm hoping is that people will realize just how insignificant our time on the planet is in terms of the planet's creation. We are balanced on a knife edge, and unless we use our intelligence much more intelligently, we are going to destroy everything that makes the world habitable. My work is positive and life-enhancing, or at least that's my intention for it. But I think it's more important that it made people think. It's certainly important that if we all do some small positive acts together, they could have a huge impact.